And we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are ready for we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are ready. And we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are ready. And we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are ready. And we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are ready. And we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are ready. And we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Jordan, with Conquering Trading and Investing. And happy Monday to you all. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we're live. Good morning. Thanks, Jeff. That should fix the issue. Let me start over then. I will go ahead and cut out when we upload and replay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I hope you're doing well and had a great weekend. Welcome. I have not yet looked at the charts myself. The only chart I've seen this morning has been the pound Japanese yen on the daily time frame, and I just kind of glanced at that real quick. I'm going to start off fresh coming into the week with the weekly forecast in mind that we've won over the weekend and prepared for this week ahead. If you haven't viewed that already, the link is in the description below. Awesome. Thank you for catching that, Jeff. All right, so starting here off on the daily time frame, looking at gold, I see that we have price successfully tested the resistance and is coming off. Dropping down to the 8-hour, I see that we're in this downtrend over here. We're under this resistance. We are taking trades, high probability setups off of support and resistance, and also using them for take profit and stop loss levels. And I see that we do have criteria for a short trade. We're looking for shorts, but this setup right now at this moment is not really speaking to me as if this is, at the top of the list, one to be watching, one getting ready to pounce on. So I'm just going to continue reviewing the market and come back to this and see how things develop. The one thing I want to be aware of and want everyone to be aware of is that we do have out of Australia tonight monetary policy meeting minutes. This is a high impact news event, and we have to be careful if we do take any Australian dollar setups to have that in mind. Yep, gold takes a lot of margin. It also has high. It moves a lot. My positions are gold are always a lot smaller than in our other currency pairs, just allowing for the moves. I always use, it's a really good tool to use a position size calculator. You could use the one that I tend to use is the one on my FX book. And it really helps you go ahead and plan your position size according to your count size and according to whatever your stop loss distance is in pips. So really helpful tool. But gold is also I've had a lot of success on gold. I really like to trade it. when it moves, it moves. All right, let's start off here with the euro US dollar on the daily. And the first thing I see is price has come up this morning and hit our resistance level that we had drawn in over here over the weekend. And it is now coming off a little bit. So let's see what that means. Let's go down and move to the 8-hour and see what's going on. All right, this looks great. We have right here, we have this downtrend, right? We have price now coming off and testing this resistance level. And so far, it seems to be bouncing off the resistance level. It's setting up for an entry right here. I have the entry CCI pulled away against the true trend, and this is coming off of resistance. So this looks like a great trade to be looking to get into. If price makes a lower low during this session, that would send me into the trade. I'm going to plan this trade out in a second. As far as stop loss, what do? I'm going to have my stop loss. Well, actually, I'll pull up a position size calculator and show you how you could use that right now. I have my stop loss up here above this other resistance level. So that means my trade size is going to be pretty small. It looks, if I zoom out, if I measure the distance to the stop loss by eye, so it only looks like this first possible take profit area is a little more than 1-to-1. It looks like it's about 1.5 to 1 risk to reward ratio, which is good for a short-term trade. It's fine. Good morning. How you doing? Welcome. Glad you're here joining us. So let's see what this looks like. My FXI calendar. All right. Let's see. The entry for this trade on the 8-hour, I'm showing you an example of what, well, this is the entry I'm going to be taking. The low of this previous price bar is 1.1054. I'm going to minus 1 pip. So let's see. You don't have the entry in here, huh? All right. You have to put your account size in. The risk to reward, I'm going to be looking for 1%. Stop loss in pips is going to be, let's see, we have an entry of 1053. My stop loss is up here. So I'm going to call it 65 pips. All right. So that's how it works for position size. I guess the reason you don't have to put the entry in is because it's just asking for stop loss and pips. I wonder if it could be done just as easy with this. Excuse me as I play a second. No, you need to be connected first. I'm going to connect a demo account so I could just do it like that. Moving along. Sorry to get stuck here with you guys. We're going to come back to that in a second. That looks like a fantastic trade to be involved in this morning. Moving over to the euro, the US dollar, Japanese yen. And what do we have here? Well, I see this price bar today was making new highs and has since been rejected. I'm assuming that's because China this morning has said that they don't really have a good feeling about how the trade deal is going. So I'm assuming we're going to be looking at some yen strength taking over since that headline appeared. I saw that headline over here on Forex Live. The mood in Beijing on trade deal is pessimistic. Okay. So I'm assuming it's around when this hit the headlines that yen strength has now picked up. But what I do see technically is I see price is coming down back towards this buy zone that we're looking for. We're looking for price to come down near this trend line. Let's look and see if there's a possible entry because I am looking for longs. And the reason I'm looking for longs is more not focused as much on the true trend, which is just basically hugging the zero line, is I'm looking to take this technically off of the support right here of this channel. This rising channel, if it breaks down, is going to be an offer a lot of opportunity perhaps to the downside. But until it breaks down, I'm looking for longs because it gives me really predefined risk, right? A break and close of the channel to the downside, I'm out of the trade. And until then, I'm looking for longs. So I'm going to be watching. It doesn't look like anything's going to develop during this session, but absolutely within the next 12 or 24 hours, we could see a possible long on the US dollar, Japanese yen. That to me looks, for example, a lot better of a trade than this trade on gold. I do like the setup so far this morning on the euro US dollar, and it looks like we have something developing here, something to watch on the US dollar, Japanese yen. I would love to get a nice opportunity on a test of the support to get long here again, if that's what plays out. Yeah, I just saw gold bouncing up a little bit. And I guess that's, starting to, what's going to happen over here, right? So if we get another test of this resistance up here and a successful breakthrough, then I like gold, because then I have, if it breaks down below again, I know that I was wrong right away, but I have this nice upside here. I have $30 to the upside over there. So that becomes a nice trade. And plus it's even nicer because when you have the successful test, and then if the bulls are able to go ahead and take it back and then regain that resistance level, and that's a good trade for me. So I'm going to wait on that. The one that looks to be developing right away is the euro US dollar. I'm going to pause probably within the next 15 minutes to make sure I have that trade in right around the market open, the equity market open on the New York Stock Exchange. But I just want to take a look at what's going on elsewhere before then. We have our friend, the US dollar, Canadian dollar, just kind of drifting back up and still stuck around the support. Nothing going on there yet. Let's see. Yep, nothing. I'm waiting here. I'm just like kind of refreshing my mind here. I'm waiting to see if we get below the support. If we get below the support, I'm going to be looking for shorts. So right now we're just kind of like, for me, in no man's land. You could see stuck between this support and this resistance. Long oil, Peppa, I haven't traded oil in a long time. Just to take a quick look at it with you, you could see this rising channel. So long is the current play on oil. Let's see, let's dig in a little further. This is just a quick doodle in. But you see that you want to be playing this channel. You want to be long, or taking longs off here and taking profits up here, perhaps even selling off this. And if we do get a break out of this rising channel, then it looks like that's going to be a good short when that does happen, because that's going to, as the global economy slows down and we are headed towards a synchronized global economy slowdown, oil is going to go ahead and trade lower. But right now it's setting up for that move lower in this rising channel. Long is the play. All right. So you have to have a plan going in. This is the plan that you should be trading off of. Go ahead on your chart, draw it in. If you're trading oil, draw in this trend channel, this channel right here, this rising channel, and that's what you want to use to trade off of. So you should know that if you're taking longs, you're taking longs off the support, off the tests down here, and you're wrong. Once price closes outside this channel, that's when you want to get out. All right. Trade small positions, trade one, maximum 2% if it's a really good setup of your account, so that you are comfortable in that trade and you don't get shaken out of your position and get out too quick. Let's see what's going on the euro Japanese yen. And wow, we see here that we're basically trading right where we opened. We probably traded up. That China news came in, took us down, and now the euro is kind of trading with a little bit of strength. That's interesting. Is that trading with the strength here now again? Trying to get my bearings this morning. Yep, the price is coming. It's that time of day, the 15 minutes before the equities open. You see prices retrace a little bit. So once the market's open, the U.S. equity market's open, If I see the dollar coming in strong and making a lower low than the previous price bar, that's going to be a good trade. During this time of day, you will see quick retracements on a lot of currency pairs for this 15, 20-minute period. Anyway, it's all about, trading smarter, and that's why we're here together. And, if you're trading a really solid position size, you're not going to get shaken out of trades. By trading a little bit too big, we're definitely are more apt to get shaken out of trades. So you want to trade smart, and that means preparing your trade before getting into it, starting on the higher time frame, seeing what's going on, laying out your plan, and then looking for a more position entry on a lower time frame, making sure you have the correct stop loss and take profits ahead of time, and trading with the right size. If you just start off with that template, you're gonna right away increase your profitability. Australian dollar, US dollar. Okay, this looks like it could be good. This looks like it could be really good. And the reason I say that is we know we were watching this. We were watching this for this, how it acted off this resistance, this red line over here. I see price on the daily is now coming down off it, trading near the lows of the day. I mean, I didn't have the opportunity. This was obviously, the entry was overnight. It was during the London session. This was the best entry. Price is still pretty close to that, right? So there's still opportunity here. And I have a feeling on the way down, this is going to lead more so than the euro. I'm going to look actually here for my entry this morning. I know that the entry CCI has since come off a little bit and is trading down. I don't like to chase price. I don't really feel like I'm chasing price. I will look for an entry here. Maybe on both pairs, maybe just go smaller on both the euro US dollar and the Australian dollar US dollar, with a lower position size than normal on both, and see which one of them winds up taking the lead if price takes me into both of them. All right, but they both look like good opportunities to me. So I'm gonna see what happens a little further. Let's check out our friend the pound US dollar. This looks good. It's continuing the breakout, and then it's even with this news that's it's showing a little bit more risk on. It's still holding its gains. That looks healthy and positive. I can't chase after it. I couldn't chase after it on Friday, so I'm definitely not going to chase after it today, as it's extended that gain. But this is going to be a nice long entry once price starts becoming a little bit more oversold, when that entry CCI, this blue line, peels back below the zero line in this uptrend. The first pullback of this breakout is going to be my entry. That's still shaping up to be a nice trade, and I do want in if the setup allows me, but it's not yet. It's not right now. It looks like this watch on the US dollar, Japanese yen, is a little more advanced. This is going to take some time. I don't see this happening on the pound US dollar before tomorrow, this time at the earliest. Let's see what's going on with the pound, Japanese yen, and similar. We had the breakout going on. We did make it even higher than the height of this range 2 weeks ago. We're just about to the top of it, but price, because of that yen strength that's coming in this morning, has taken this back, right? So this leads me to believe the play out of the two is more on the pound US dollar, unless things change. Things change and obviously are flowing and are fluid. So we'll see what's going on tomorrow, but there's no play on either the pound Japanese yen or the pound US dollar today. A lot of traders chase those breakouts up here. That's not what you want to do. This one, of course, if you played the breakout right here and then we're taking profits, that's a quick trade scalp. Wasn't looking for it. I'm not looking for it right now. I want to see what's going on two things. The euro, this looks good. This looks really good. We were looking at this over the weekend. We have now, because of probably this headline over here about the mood in Beijing on the trade deal is pessimistic, This is showing Australian dollar weakness, and we see the euro trading strong against the Australian dollar. Let's look to see if there's a possible chance to get in this trade on the 8-hour time frame. Not yet. Again, similarly to the overnight trade, if you took it on the Australian dollar, US dollar, this was during even probably the Asian session. I have to wait here. There's nothing for me to do. I'm going to hope this consolidates a little further and that we get the entry CCI pull back. I'm going to continue watching this, but there is no trade for me to take here on the euro Australian dollar. No, Pepper, we trade here together. We only started this 2 weeks ago, doing these live streams every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And we just do this together as I'm planning out my trades. Sharing that with you in the process is really showing you how to think. It's showing you how I trade. If you have a different trading style, you will still be able to incorporate it with what I'm showing and teaching here into yours. I highly recommend and suggest watching what I do and how I do it, and learning my rhythm is really going to help you out. Just spending 20 minutes, a half hour every day as we review the overview of the currency pairs. If you're not able to catch that live with us, you could go ahead and watch the replay, and that time, that 20 minutes together is really gonna, each day is over the course of time, whether it's days and then weeks and then months, it's really gonna up your game enormously. I have to say it has to be better than any paid service you could find out there. So just join us and watch how you develop and grow. I hope that what is being offered, the value that's being offered, speaks for itself. So I'm looking at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and I don't see anything. I do see that I'm in between this resistance and this support down here. I had this blue box drawn in here. I guess this was like congestion. I don't really see it, so I'm removing it. But there's a minor support down here that price is trading just below right now. Let me look on the 8-hour time frame and see what that looks like. We're about 6 minutes away from the opening in New York. This does still look healthy. This looks really healthy for a couple of reasons. So let's look at this, because this could provide a nice entry today. We do have news this evening out of Australia. You have to be aware, if you enter any pairs on the Australian dollar, that you're probably looking to take some profits. My inkling of what's going to happen, this is going to help appreciate the Australian dollar. We're going to hear some information that perhaps they're seeing a pause. They're going to actually not be looking for any further rate cuts. They see signs of improvement perhaps in the economy, at least hope. And this might help appreciate the Australian dollar a little bit. That's just my feeling, my intuition. But right now, we're seeing weakness in the Australian dollar. This could provide a nice trade during this session going into that event later today. And what we're seeing right now is you could see here the lower end of this blue box is a resistance level. And you see it here is resistance. It broke through. It became support on multiple occasions. Broke through again twice. So it's minor. It's only a minor resistance. But if we trade below it, if we make a lower low than here, which we're about to do, that is an opportunity. The take profit would be if we came anywhere close to testing this support line down here, down at 73.40, anywhere as high as 73.60. So there's about 35 pips in here to look for. This looks like a good solid trade. I'm willing to go with it today. I also like the fact that over in this previous price board during the London session, we were making highs, and then now we have the bulls caught off guard as we're looking to make lows. So this looks more like a more of a high risk trade, right? But I like it. Dun, dun, dun. Yep, we did take a look. You could pull back right now, Kelvin, and the first thing we looked at today was gold, and then about, I guess, 4 or 5 minutes later, we looked at it again, but we could look at it right now. We did look at gold earlier this morning. It was the first pair we looked at. And then about 5 minutes later, we went back into it. If you want to go ahead and look at that, just pull back on the live stream and you could check that out. But here's what we're seeing on gold. Let's look at it right now together. That was silver. All right, you see gold starting to really move a little bit right now. That could be because of this headline. Again, this headline here that the mood in Beijing is on the trade deal is turning pessimistic, right? So what we see in gold, or what I see in gold, is earlier we had the successful test of this resistance line up here, and then gold had been trading off. If you look in here a little bit further, what I'm looking for is if we get above this resistance line, right here it was rejected, and if the bulls are able now to regain this line, we have nice $30 to this resistance up here of this upper trend line was support until it was broken. So that's the take profit, right? The first take profit you're looking for. So I'm going to wait to see if we regain this level here, this resistance, which has been successfully tested. And if the bulls are able to gain that level, I'd like then getting long gold, looking for a test here. So until we regain this level or testing it, I'm not going to be looking to see what's going on. That's not happening right now. Whether it's happening later today or this afternoon, we could take a look later. We'll see about that. I think the Australian dollar, Japanese yen is a good short opportunity. We have the Australian dollar is probably the weakest currency right now this morning, and the Japanese yen ever since the last, ever since this headline is the strongest. I like to go with momentum. I really think that is a good trade. There it is. Well, you have right now, you have the pair trading at its daily lows. That's a good sign if you're looking to go short. And then on the 8-hour, again, if we take out the previous low of this price bar, we're in this downtrend. We're resuming that downtrend after catching the bulls off the long side and breaking below this support line right here. So that, that has all the check marks. That's an excellent trade. The only thing that it's not the best on it is that you have to be aware that you have this news event later in the day and you got to get out of the trade, or at least I'm getting out of the trade before that happens. So that limits my profit potential. So I have to look to be able to, I have to look, take profit, as soon as I get around 73.65, more or less. That's where I'd be looking for profit. No, I don't trade the S&P futures. And then between the two, this is let's look on the daily first. I want to check out the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. It's also trading at its lows of today. This is obviously holding up better. It's consolidating better. It's actually consolidating pretty well. You can see this last resistance. Once it's broke out after this nice move up, price continues to hold that move. Whereas on the Australian dollar, for perspective, it's broken down, right? So that's the weaker of the two. And it's also broken down below this resistance right here. Once it broke the resistance, price after it broke this trend line is since trading lower. That's the weaker of the two right now. And that's the one that I want to look for. So we have so far this morning, the trade opportunities that I see is on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, on the euro, US dollar. That's trading up. That gives me some more time. That's excellent. And especially now, if we see right now, you see here that, and again, this is right now is the opening of US equities. We should now see this reverse itself. Watch that. It gives me some more time to set that trade. And it's also another retest of this resistance up there. And then I want to check out the Australian dollar, US dollar. That's the other pair that I could see here. Again, price testing this resistance. It's being rejected right now off this resistance. That That's the three pairs that I'm focused in on this morning. There is a lot of action on gold, right? Gold is really moving. So that's possible if you like active markets, but there's about, there's about $9 up until you come towards this resistance level between $7 and $9. So if you're quick, and if you're trading off a smaller time frame, gold could be, well, the move happened. There's the move. I would stay away. I'm just going to wait that out, and I'm waiting to see if we regain this resistance here. If the bulls are able to get this level, then I'm looking for a trade. I'm going to look for my trade entry to develop somewhere around here. We'll see how that plays out to look for there. But until then, I'm still looking for shorts if price rejects itself over here. Yeah, Kelvin, it's really important. I try to reinforce that in the weekly forecasts and analysis. Always want to be watching the calendar. You want to know, especially any pairs that you're getting into, whether or not they have something, a high impact news event that day or within the next 48 hours. It's really important. So we're going to see now over the next half hour, the first half hour of trading in U.S. equities, what's going to happen, whether or not we're going to see a resumption of the trend that was taking place right before, or if things reverse themselves again. But right, you have to have a plan of what you perceive happening and what could happen, but you have to be really fluid and able to change that plan and adjust it as things develop, because that's what a market does. Markets just continuously pricing in new information, and therefore it's very fluid. You have to remain fluid also. So that's it. And I'm going to take pause for a couple of minutes here just to place in some limit orders. A sell stop here on the euro US dollar. Let me look here at the Australian dollar. The Australian dollar, Japanese yen as well. That's it. I'm going to stand aside on the Australian dollar, US dollar, not to double up on the Australian dollar, especially with the news event. But those are the trades that I'm looking at and I want to get into this morning. All right, now I'm going to be watching to see how things develop. If anyone has anything they would like to take a look at right now, we have the time. That would be awesome. And aside from that, this is the first half hour of trading during New York after equities open. You have fantastic time to trade, right? Usually between 8 and 8:20. This is local time, Eastern time. Then you usually have a lot of news come out at 8:30, and then normally that direction will hold for the next 20 minutes to half hour, and then usually from 9:10 to 9:30, moves retrace themselves, and then the market shows its hand again within the first half hour of trading on New York. That's the flow. Yep. So Jeff is asking if we could talk through. Can you please talk us through the trades risk? So the question I'm reading, Jeff, is could you talk us through the trade's risk? So on the euro US dollar, I'm going to start here. Each trade is different, right? It depends on the setup you're taking. It depends on what your risk to reward ratio is, right? Some trades, like for example, the trade here I'm taking on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, does not have a good risk to reward ratio. That's because I'm looking to get out of this trade later in the day. If price takes me into it, if price trades below 73.88 is my entry, the low of this previous price bar over here. If I do get into this trade, and the reason I'm taking this as a momentum trade, I have the Australian dollar weak and the Japanese yen strong right now. And as we begin this session, I want to see if price capitalizes that. I have the break of this support happening right now. So if price resumes below this support level with that momentum, I'm looking to get in that trade. But my risk, my stop is right up here. If price takes out this high, obviously I'm clearly wrong, right? It's a short-term trade. I'm taking this trade, basically I have about 10 hours or whatever the case is on this trade. It's a short trade before the news event. So my take profit also is going to be, it's only about, call it 25 pips. So it's really short. It's a one-to-one risk reward, right? So the trade size here, obviously you don't want it to be too big. So you just want to trade a little bit smaller than normal because it's not the greatest risk to reward ratio and it's a time sensitive trade. At the same time, it's also not so small, but it is not so small, the trade I took here, because of the fact that I'm looking for a day trade here, a short-term trade, right? So Euro US dollar is different because on the Euro US dollar, I have more time on my side here. Let's go to the Euro US dollar. This play here, we're being rejected off this resistance this morning. The trend is down. Let's go to the 8-hour time frame. The trend is down. The true trend is down here. Price came off of our take profit zone that we took from this nice trades over here, and now has since retraced to this first resistance here. On the first resumption downwards, I'm looking to get short again. And again, I will have no take profit in. The first take profit area that I will look will be if price gets down here. I'll see how price reacts. And if price starts bouncing off as it did here, I'll take profit. But if price is able to fall through, I'm going to be holding that trade. My stop loss, I am giving it room to roam. If I were putting my stop loss just up here, that would be a phenomenal risk reward, even to my first area of looking to take profit. I would be trading probably a little bit larger for position size, probably 1.5%. I'm trading a 1% risk here on this trade, and I have my stop all the way up here. Because if price makes it up and fails to test this resistance also, that's it. I'm out of this trade. It was a failure. But here, I have about a 1 to 2 risk to reward. And if price breaks, much more. So I highly recommend, if you trade, the max risk you use is 2% on any trade, and you're using very favorable risk to reward ratios, right? Generally speaking, 1 to 3. And most of the time you're risking 1% on your account, you're going to be fine. You're going to be really good. Most of the time you risk 1% of your account, you're going to be really good. Yep. So Rick, my short here on the Euro US dollar, I'm going to go over the trade again really quick. Again, we're in this downtrend. Ever since we broke this trend line up here of this channel, we've been taking shorts. We took profits late last week off of this support. The first piece was as it hit support, and then the second take profit was after price started bouncing off the support. And now we're up to this first resistance here. And you see earlier today, price bounced off that resistance a little bit. And then we have this heavier resistance up top. Looking at the 8-hour time frame, I see if price makes a lower low, then this previous price bar down at my entry will be at 1.1053. If price starts making a lower low and gets me into that trade, my trend is down. Price is oversold in that downtrend. So I'm looking for short entries and it's trading at a resistance level. So I have everything checking off for me. I'm in a downtrend. Price is overbought in that downtrend and I'm trading at a resistance level. So now I just wait for price to take me back into the trade if it starts making lower lows. And then you could have a stop just above that area or above this other resistance up here. This is where I have my stop loss is in above here. Yep. We will take a look again at the US dollar, Japanese yen, because that's something we're watching for a setup to come. That's not going to happen probably until the next 24 hours, but we'll look to be prepared for that in a second. Jeff, you were asking which candle I'm going off of, and I'm not sure which pair you're talking about and on which time frame. So just let me know the pair and the time frame, and I'll get back to that. Rick, I hope that makes sense of the trade that's developing here on the Euro US dollar. We're in a downtrend. We've come off this support and we're now testing this resistance area. So since we're still in a downtrend, now we're looking to get short again, only if price gets us into that trade by starting to make lower lows. Okay, but that looks nice. Do I take a long here if we make it above this resistance area? Yeah, I mean, you have like a zigzag, and you could take longs because you have the true trend will be crossing to the positive side, and you will be looking to take a profit up here. I'm not looking to do that. I have my stop up here above this resistance here for this short trade if I get into it, and I'm looking to take more shorts until this resistance is broken. If at any point in time the bulls regain this resistance line, then I'm looking, the true trend is going to be positive. I'll be taking first pullbacks because I have a lot of room up here to look for this first area. This first area of take profit will be all the way up here. So that's a beautiful trade to the upside, only if I regain that resistance up at 1.1106 that we currently have the line drawn in. Okay. Australian dollar, yen, boom, boom. Let's bring it up. Yeah, I have my stop loss is going to be just above this previous candle. This is a short-term trade for me. If it triggers, I know that I have to get out of it later today. I don't want to hold it because of the news event. The stop loss I have above here at above 74.35 is my stop loss. If price starts making higher highs after this price bar, taking the bulls all of a sudden being thrown off and making lower lows, this engulfing bearish candle, if the bulls regain that again, I'm out. I'm lost. I lost. But right here, it looks like the bears are getting ready to perhaps make their move. And let's see. I mean, there's trading's about possibilities and probabilities. And if we get below this support line here and start making lower lows with the momentum that's happening on this pair right now, it's an opportunity. And then we want to look at the US dollar, Japanese yen again. So here's what's going on. We're still trading within this rising wedge, right? If and when price breaks out of this wedge to the downside, that's a great long-term trade that we're going to be looking to take. First take profits, not down to here, to this. See that support, resistance, broken, support. There's our take profit area down around 107. That's going to be about 150 pips, with a really nice defined risk. We'll look at it as it happens. But right now we're looking for longs. You see, I see the price bar trading with this big wick and trading at the lows. But yeah, we're waiting for longs to develop if we're able to go ahead and bounce off this rising wedge, because the rising wedge is the pattern I'm trading right now. And so far it's holding. And as long as it holds, I'm looking to take longs off of that support as price bounces off it. So right now I could see that price is right now in my buy zone. I'm not going to get into it unless it bounces up, right? And once it regains this resistance line here, that's drawn in at what's that price level at 108.94, 108.90 in between that area. That's a really high probability setup and entry, and you get nice room to roam. But if I get a higher high on an 8-hour price bar at a session that I'm trading, I'm really want to take that also. Again, until we break below and close on a daily below this rising wedge, off of this support area, I'm looking for longs. That's what's happening on the US dollar, Japanese yen. It's just kind of wait right now. You don't want to short this pair while it's inside the wedge. If you get a close below it, that's the opportunity to get short. But until then, I'm looking for longs. This is the US dollar, Japanese yen. So let's say if the US dollar, euro is making back its gains versus the US dollar, I'm going to assume that the euro is making some nice gains then on the Australian, not yet. All right. This is a pair to be watching, the euro US dollar. I don't see an entry though. You could see here, price made this nice breakout above the previous week's high, and then tested it as support, and is now coming off, looking here to make highs. Looking down on the 8-hour for an entry though, I don't see it. I don't like to play a breakout of price like that over here. If we do come off again and retest this area here, which should be support now, which it was right here, you can see support, broken, resistance, broken, support. If we consolidate here and test the support more and get these entries CCI pulled back again while we're still in that uptrend, that will be my opportunity to see. Price doesn't move up and down always, right? CF price moving sideways, right? And then it breaks. So I'm not expecting price to just immediately move up here. If price consolidates further and gives me that entry, then I'll get in. But there's just no clear play there for me. I don't see it. I want to see what gold is doing. Gold has had a little move to it, and just coming up. So I'm looking for shorts here on gold. I know a lot of traders see this, this up move right here today. I might be looking for longs. I have this resistance here, and until I get above this resistance, I'm not looking for longs. I have the trend is down, and the entry CCI is pulled back above it right now. So if I get another rejection over here, if price comes back and starts making lower lows again, that's going to be a short entry for me. And then I have this support right here. I want to draw that line in. All right. So if I could get below that support with an entry, that's going to be a nice one to look for. All right. Is there anything else that anyone is looking at? Is there anything moving that people want to see? Or we know that the pound US dollar is making nice moves today. It's holding up pretty well. And again, this area right here, you can see this resistance right here. That was a take profit area for people who took this initial breakout. You go ahead and you take a little piece off here, and then you wait for the pullback. I didn't take this breakout. I didn't take this breakout because I was burnt here on this breakdown, right? So now I'm just waiting, and I'm waiting for the first pullback. This could be a nice trade this week. I hope it works out and develops. I'm waiting for this entry CCI for price to be oversold in its uptrend, for price to come back and test this breakout here, make sure that support holds, and then resume upwards. And that will be my trade entry if I get in. Yep, Matt, that's a good question. I could go back to show you the last trade series that we're in on the euro US dollar. and I do. So charts are getting a little full here. All right, Matt. So on this pair, the Euro US dollar, we were watching for shorts once this trend line broke here, which it did. You had that beautiful retest of the support, broken support, which was resistance, and then price came down. The first nice entry was here as price resumed, started making lower lows. I did not get into it, right? Because the true trend was still positive, and I didn't want to be aggressive. And then here, the true trend turned negative. I'm looking for shorts. This was the first pullback of the entry CCI. Price is now overbought in the downtrend developing. And as it resumed, I got short over here. My initial stop was a little too tight. It was up here. Okay. I should have had my stop higher, but I took a bigger trade and my stop loss was tight and it worked out, but got a little lucky. And I got lucky because on this price bar, price tested all the way up here and then came down. I could have got stopped out easily. Just when I was reviewing my trade, I knew that it was wrong. I was waiting. My take profit wasn't until this area down here, and it wasn't a hard take profit. I was going to wait to see how price reacted around it. You could see that was a really nice, about a 1-to-3, 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio on the trade. Once price came down here, Matt, and I took a second entry over here on this trade. Once price came down over here, I moved my stop just to break even, not even to lock anything in. I was waiting to see what happened. I was waiting to see if price blew through the support. And then if it did, this would wind up being a home run trade. Price stalled. I took profit on this shorter trade right here. And then what I did was on this bar down over here, I took profit on this other trade because price was not blowing through support. Price tends to either hold the level or blast through it. And if it doesn't blast through the support level, I was taking profit. But if price would have blown through here, right? Where would I have moved my stop then? I would have moved my stop again, and it would have been the last swing high. So it would have been right over down here in this area that I would have moved my stop. I do continually move my stops. I let the initial trade roam. I don't move my stop right away at all. I give it room to breathe for that trade to really have the opportunity to play out. And then as I get towards my first take profit area, I will move my stop then. Again, as each trade is individual. This is a black and white system with black and white rules to follow. And that's what you're doing. You know what to do, where to move, when to set your stops, where you're setting your stops, where you exit, and nothing changes at all. This type of trading is more fluid. The market moves and breathes, and each trade develops uniquely on its own. There is guidelines that I use and that you could use for each situation, but depending on how it's playing out, each situation is unique. And that's why by just reviewing every day, 20 minutes, seeing how we're approaching each individual trade, each individual pair, each individual day, you'll see how that flows and that works. I see the euro is now looking, and that's why you wait for price to get you in. Right now, the entry's below the low of this price bar down here, this red price bar. Price has to show me that it's resuming downwards for me to get in. And you can see here now price is reversing so far during the opening of the New York equities and is now making higher highs. So I'm not going to get into that trade. It looks like I still have my limit in. I'm going to keep it in this morning. We're still seeing here the Japanese yen is still being showing strength versus the Australian dollar. That trade is not triggered yet. It is possible. So I do want to look also then now at gold and see how gold is reacting, right? Since the euro is making gains on the dollar, but nothing is happening. It's kind of stalled out ever since it made this move up. Are looking here for longs off of this support on the US dollar, Japanese yen. In order for that to happen, price will need to make a higher high than the previous price bar. So that does not look like it's going to happen on this time period, but it could happen later in the day or sometime tomorrow. And this seems to be the only pair that's actually holding its gains this last 20 minutes, this last half hour. So if we're going to see right now if price makes that break or not. And again, this is since I've been with you guys, this is the riskiest trade I'm looking to take. The reason it's risky is because it has to be a short-term trade. We do have later this evening the news out of Australia on their monetary policy meeting minutes. I do not want to be in this trade later when that's happening. It's not a trade that offers a high risk to reward ratio because I need to get out of it quickly. But I do have a lot of momentum here. I have so far this morning the Japanese yen the strongest and the Australian dollar the weakest. And if we break below this support level here by making a lower low here, that provides an opportunity with the near-term trend, and I might be able to get a nice trade off this morning. I am waiting on the pound US dollar for a trade to develop. We had the breakout occur. I'm looking now for a price to pull back and a successful test. Make sure that broken resistance is now support. And then as price resumes in to get long this pair. I'm also looking here, even though we have yen strength today, I'm looking for this rising wedge, lower trendline support to hold. I assume until it breaks, it's going to hold. So if price starts resuming upwards, I will be looking to take a buy entry on this pair. Adversely, if we do get a close on the daily time frame below that support on the US dollar, Japanese yen, if we break out of this rising wedge and close below it, I'm looking for shorts on this pair. I have in the euro US dollar, I have a short order placed. But right now it looks like price is it's testing this resistance here again. It already didn't successfully test it once this morning. It was rejected and now it's taking another look at it. I have my entry below the previous price bar here. We're going to see if the bull is able to even make a further move, then they might be able to take it as high as this next resistance up here. I'm not looking for longs on this pair. The trend is down, and I will wait to see if the bulls are able to regain this resistance level up here. And if they do, then I will be looking for longs. I'll be trading with the trend. The trend will be positive, and there's a nice room over here for this trade. There's first set, that will be a trade to look for as it develops. Right now, I'm looking for shorts. We're going to see what happens here. Check back in on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen to see if that trade still holding. Again, this is why you always let price and momentum take you into the trade. If you were preemptive here on this trade on the US dollar, you got burnt this morning, right? Never take an entry before the trade price takes you into the trade. Really? This is interesting. We'll come back to this one in a second here. Pound Canadian dollar also offering a possible opportunity. But I want to check now here on the pound Japanese yen on the daily time frame, see if we got a signal. It's not one of my pairs. So right now I'm looking here at a daily time frame with the true trend BTC. If you're not familiar with this easy and profitable trading strategy, this is perfect for those who only have limited time, those working full time. This is enough to make you profitable and profit from the markets. This uses the true trend BTC, which uses a 333 period settings for the CCI here. And you can see here today, there is a 0 line cross. Wow, look at that. All right, so now a couple of things. I just want to talk about this for a minute. Now, are we getting a 0 line cross? Well, we're about to either way. If price were to cross the 0 line to here today, that would be a buy entry, right? The stop loss is the lowest price point of the previous move of the trend when it was down, since you're buying, which is all the way down here, right? At 126.53, that's 1,500 pips, right? Here's the thing. Your stop loss is 1,500 pips away, but you're risking 1.8% total on 3 separate trades. So your first trade is a risk of 0.3%. I'm sorry, your first trade is a risk of 0.6%. Your second trade is a risk of 0.9%, and your third trade is a risk of 0.3%. It's a total of 1.8%. It wouldn't matter if your stop loss over here, the move of the previous trend up was about, say it was 100 pips. I'm risking 1.8%. Or if it's down here, 1,500 pips, I'm risking 1.8%. So you have to use really small position size here as compared to here. Adversely, if you get a 0 line cross to the downside a day or a week later, your stop loss, your loss on that trade is going to be really minimal. You're not going to take the full 1.8% loss. Your loss will probably be closer to 0.1 or 0.2%. It doesn't repaint. It could repaint until it closes. So this is why you always wait for the close of a price bar to take the signal on this trading system over here, right? Once the price bar closes, it's then not going to repaint, but it's going to repaint all day long right here, right now, as it's hugging the 0 line. As price moves up, you might get it crossing the 0 line. Then if price retraces back off, it's going to be below it. So you wait for that close of the price bar always, even if it's clear, right? If it's trading right now towards the top of the range, you just, out of discipline, wait for the close of the price bar. Unless, of course, there's an hour to go and you need to go somewhere or something like that, then it's a little fluid. We're flexible. Let's check in on the Australian dollar. Oh, we're going to go back to the pound CAD in a moment. All right, let's look at the pound CAD. We saw over here, we were watching for a breakout. You could see that price has broken out near term over here. Right? But you also see right now it's trading at this resistance. So price has to get above this resistance line, this red line over here, which it is right now, and then come back down and test that for our first entry. We're going to wait, but this is a pair that is breaking out just like the pound US dollar. And you could see, wow, you're in a nice uptrend here, right? Breaking out now above. We're going to be waiting. This could be a nice entry as well on both the pound US dollar and both the pound Canadian dollar. You could see right now, it's easier to see on the daily because way back here, months ago, you had resistance up here. And price, although it broke out of this triangle pattern right here, it's just trading at this resistance right now. You can see it right there. So it could get rejected. Price could close below this resistance. And then at that point, it's, I would not look for a short until that trend rolled over on the 8-hour time frame. But if price gets rejected at this resistance, we are looking for shorts. Once this trend line breaks here, it'll be coincide with this true trend turning over negative. That provides a good opportunity. And then right now you can see this is an inflection point because we're getting close to where it's a good time to look for longs also. For that to happen though, I'm going to need a retest down here. It's not there yet. On the pound US dollar, it's here. You could see that we had this clear breakout. Price is moving. It's moving upwards. We're just waiting for price now to allow us into an entry. For that to happen, it's got to breathe for a second. The entry CCI has to become oversold. We need to test support, and then we'll get long on a successful resumption. That looks to be a little more advantageous than the pound Canadian dollar. And to be honest, the pound Canadian dollar, if it gets rejected here, if it doesn't hold this little breakout that seems to be happening up here and then reverses to the short side, that looks like a good trade. Just as here on the US dollar Canadian dollar, we've been in this multi 2-week uptrend, which is just a bull move in a bear market. See, we're trading down here. We're trading down. This is a bear market, and this is a bull move in a bear market. And that's why if we get this resumption downwards, that's a nice trade to take to the downside. That's what I see also happening on the pound Canadian dollar. But to the upside, I like the pound versus the US dollar, which seems to be, of the two, breaking out more healthy and more. This may just tease me. I don't know if it's going to break down or not. We're going to find out soon. And then, checking back in on the euro US dollar. Again, this could get rejected. This is a strong sell signal if this gets rejected twice at this level right here. The price is just testing it right now. Nothing's going on. There's no trade. You got to stand aside when there's no trade and wait for those trades to develop. You can't trade just to trade. You're going to lose a lot of money. The worst thing you could do for your trading is trade just to trade. By looking at the market, by going over these pairs and picking our setups, we're trading. That's what a trader does. A trader is assessing, waiting, and then taking action, right? But you have to wait for the trade to develop. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting money. You're going to be losing money instead of making it. Again, this is a trade to watch too. If this is rejected again, I know a lot of people started going long on this price bar this morning up here. Again, we're waiting to see if this resistance line is broken, the bulls regain it, then we got room here to look for a long. Until then, we're waiting and looking for this to be rejected. This is support, 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 broken. And you see when price breaks the support level, it breaks it. If price stalls out and bounces, you got to take profits. You got to get out of the trade. But if price pushes through, that's how support gets broken. That's how resistance gets broken, with a strong push. And then you can see this broken support became resistance. And here again, we're expecting this resistance is going to hold until it doesn't. If price resumes downwards, we're looking for shorts. What's going on this morning with Bitcoin? Price is just still holding this support, right? Draw it in. You got here resistance, broken, support, broken, resistance, resistance, broken. And we're holding and testing the support line right here to see what's going to happen. I'm going to pause for 1 second. Bear with me for a couple minutes. And all right, I'm back. I was taking a look here at Bitcoin, and I see that price is basically just holding this support. If it breaks through, Bitcoin is coming down, and will definitely probably move pretty quickly and test around this 7,800 level first. That's the next thing to see and to assess. On the flip side, it needs to get above this area over here. It needs to get above 9,500. That resistance we have up here before anything's going to happen. It looks like it's going to be trading within that range right now. Of course, unless this line, which we're close to right now, we're trading at, we're testing it if 8,400 breaks. If anyone is looking at a pair they want to assess, take a look at, let me know. Definitely happy to look at it. Now there is the pause in the market and we have the time. So just to reiterate, we're waiting for a buy entry on the pound US dollar, right? We're looking for a buy entry on the US dollar Japanese yen, and we're also looking to see whether or not this support of the rising wedge is going to hold. If it doesn't hold, this is going to set up a beautiful series of trades for us going short. There's going to be a lot of potential to the downside, but until then, we're looking for longs if price gets us into them. This also, we didn't look at this. This is also actually looks really good right now. This is actually holding up better. I'm going to come back to that in 1 second. The euro Japanese yen. And then it looks like right now we're about to be taking in about 4 pips off entry right here currently on the Australian dollar Japanese yen. That may or may not trigger, and that may or may not fall into profit. We're going to find out quickly. The euro trade seems to be, again, just testing this resistance right now. We're on pause there. If the trend resumes downward today by making a lower low than the previous price bar, coming off of resistance and a downtrend with trade criteria, the entry CCI positive and a downtrend, definitely looking for a short trade here. Take profit is all the way down here. That's a nice trade if it develops. I want to take a look at the euro Japanese yen. I don't think we looked at it together this morning. Skipped over that one. And all right, so here's what I see. Obviously, we're in the channel. We're in the lower half of the channel, meaning we're looking for buy side trades. But I do see price right now in this moment. You see this little resistance line here that I just drew in at 120.33. Price was trading above it and it's now trading just below it. So that's kind of iffy. And I also see on the 8-hour time frame that we're in a downtrend, right? We're off this resistance right here in a downtrend. So you got to look for shorts, right? You have a short trade here, but not too much room for profit, right? If you were to take this trade, you're looking to take profit in this support line here, drawn in at 119.58. And then you have this trend line support also. So that's a buy zone. So although the trend is down, this is kind of a counter trend trade, but we're coming off of this resistance, which is not holding. So there is a possible entry over here. But again, coming back to the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, I don't know. I do like that pair better. That's a tough one, right? That's how I see it. Like, since it's not clear, and the euro US dollar one is clear, right? If price gets rejected here, this is a nice clear trade. We're in the downtrend below resistance. Everything is lining up nicely. There is room for a trade here. Things are not lining up nicely, right? Why? Because I'm in the lower end of the channel, so I want to be looking for buys. But at the same time, the trend is down, and we're trading right now just below this support this resistance that was broken earlier just on the last price bars. It's so iffy. Because it's iffy, I don't really want to take it. Hanero, good morning. Welcome. Glad you're able to join us. Is there anything that you're looking at this morning? Let's give it a look. Let us know. Here comes the euro making a play at this resistance here. Again, if you get above it, you do have a play at this next resistance above it. You do have 35 pips there. It's not a trade that I'm looking to take long. I'm looking for the trades to the downside. If someone were to take this, they have to be really tight with their stop loss. They have to put their stop loss where my entry short is, right? And then you have about a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio to the upside. I know the trend is still down, but you could see that it's rising, and you could see the entry side pulling up. So that's a counter trend trade to the upside. If this, and it looks like it's possible, this resistance gets taken out, and that's the play over there. That's a counter trend trade. And it's not something I'm interested in taking, but there's the trade, just laying it out for anyone. The only thing nice about this trade is if it works out is that price earlier today did butt up against this resistance and trade off it. And then if price goes ahead and makes an engulfing bull candle here and takes out the high, that is, you have a trade there. Let's see what gold is doing. Gold's coming up too now again. And the pound is not. That's interesting. You have the pound making gains. I mean, you have the euro making gains this current period, and the pound is not, and yet the pound has been stronger all along. So we're waiting for that pullback on that pound. We're waiting for the entry CCI to show us that it's a good opportunity to buy, because we're no longer chasing after price. And then we will look if price takes us back in long to get long that pair. Long term, I am looking to see if we break down here on the pound Canadian dollar. On the upside, I'm looking for the pound US dollar. On the reverse side, if this pattern breaks down and starts trading off, I'll be looking for the short side, not on the pound US dollar, but on the pound Canadian dollar. Adversely here, let's look at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. This pair, the New Zealand dollar, ever since we broke this resistance right here, you could see that price has been consolidating at around it and is currently trading above it. While on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, when you broke this resistance here, prices failed. So on the downside, I'm looking to take Australian dollar, Japanese yen. To the upsides, if a breakout occurs, I'd be looking to take it on the New Zealand dollar over the Australian dollar, because you see the New Zealand dollar showing greater strength. Yeah, let's take a look at the euro, Australian dollar, and you could see price. Let's see this on the 8-hour. The reason that we have this blue box in here, this blue box, is because you had over to here, you had resistance, which was broken, and then the support held. That's the lower line, the first support area now. And then up here, we have a resistance area. That's this blue box, because you could see price has really traded within it. So once price entered back into this box, I expected price to get stuck back in this blue box. You could see here, I'm going to draw in another resistance line right up there. You could see it at 1.629. All right. You could see here resistance, support, resistance, resistance, resistance. So it's a line. It's something to keep in mind. It's not going to hold, probably. Something to keep in mind. So for me to play this pair, the way that I am looking at this pair, and we looked at this a little earlier, I see since we've broken through this resistance and it tested successfully as support, that was the first possible entry, right? You can see here the uptrend, the pullback, and then the entry. So if you're long this pair right now, that's good. Your stop is down here, right? If we break below this support, if it doesn't hold again, you're out of this trade. So you could take this swing low right here. That's your stop loss. I am not in the trade yet. And again, I'm just going to look to see, because I don't expect price to move straight up and down. You see it over here moving sideways. And if price consolidates along this support line here and the entry CCI pulls back again, shows me I could get in, and then price gives me another entry, I'll get in. Again, if you're long here, that's good, right? You'd be into profit a little bit, and you know where your stop is. It's pretty tight. And whether or not you take profit at this first line of resistance coming up here or not, that would be what you have to assess depending on how price reacted. Again, if price stalled at this resistance, you would take profit, and then you had about a 1.5 to 1.75 risk reward on that trade. But if price blows through it, if price moves through that area with momentum, then you have a nice trade on your hands, and you're looking up here for a test to see whether or not you're going to take profit. So I'm waiting on this pair to see if I could get into the trade, because I did not get an entry over here. Same thing on the Australian dollar, US dollar. The entry for this pair would have been earlier in the Asian session. The entry would have been while you had trade criteria. You're below a resistance here, right? Price broke through, came up and tested it, and it's being rejected. The entry CCI was pulled up, overbought in this downtrend, and then as price resumed downward, you got into this trade. You're right now at basically at your entry. You have your stop loss. I would have mine up here, right? It would have been a smaller trade with the stop up here, because I have to expect that it's quite possible we come up and test this resistance over here. So my stop loss would have some room. A tighter stop loss is down here. Those two trades are similar on the Australian dollar, US dollar, and the euro, euro, Australian dollar. Yeah. So the entry CCI, in order to see the entry CCI, do two things. Go into your expert advisor properties, right click, choose expert advisors, go to properties, then go to the inputs tab. Under the inputs tab, you're going to find settings for both the trend CCI. You want to go ahead and switch that to 70. And then you're going to find also the the trend CCI settings of 70, and then the entry CCI settings. You want to go ahead and put number 3. I think on this video, it's not putting it up, but either way, you want to have the where can I write it up here? Trend CCI of 70, an entry CCI of 3, and this is under inputs, the inputs tab. Okay, you got that, or if you need any other help, let me know, and I will walk you through it. All right, so what do we do here? I have an open order right now on this trade, and it's not yet falling into profit. I'm going to give this trade another 30 minutes. And if it does not trigger, and if it does not start moving, resuming its trend downwards, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel those orders. That was a momentum play, and momentum is stalling. So that's the type of thing that you kind of learn over time. It's not something that is so much black and white or rule based. What do you do? When do you cancel your order if the trade is not developing? A large part of the reason why I'm watching this pair this morning is because momentum is with it. The Japanese yen is showing strength. It's trading at its lows for the day against the Australian dollar. It's about to break this support here with the trend down and the intraday side pull back. So if momentum takes me into that trade, I want it. I want to get into it. But if momentum is stalling, I'm gonna have to pull back and stand aside and cancel those orders. On the euro US dollar, it looks like we might be taking out this resistance level right here. And then at that point, we'll be looking for to see whether or not this resistance line up here is tested and holds. What I'm doing though, this whole way up, I'll be looking to get short. I have for an extended period of time, my entry CCI is up, stretched away from the downtrend. So if price does not trigger on this price bar, I'll just keep adjusting my stop to the low of the previous price bar until this triggers, up until this resistance is violated. Once this resistance line right here is taken out and price trades above it, I'm going to reassess and be looking for longs. But until then, I'm waiting for price to resume downward and take me into that trade. And then I'll talk more about it as that develops further. There is the possibility the true trend crosses over to the positive side while we're still under this resistance. And for the first bar or two or three, I will still be looking to short it until we get above this resistance level. Goal 2, I am looking for this resistance to hold. I am looking to short this pair. I am looking to get short this pair if price takes me back into it. I do like this little support line right here. If the entry occurs below it, I'm happier. But until this resistance breaks, the true trend will be positive if it breaks. I have some nice upside. That will be a nice long to trade. But until that happens, I'm looking for shorts. The US dollar, Japanese yen, again, until we get a break of this rising wedge. Let me pull it up on the daily time frame. If and when we get a break below, I will be looking for shorts. But right now, I'm playing this pattern and I'm looking for buy opportunities off the support here, right? I'm looking for buys in order for that to happen. And I have my entry CCI oversold. The true trend is rolling over, but it could be just whipsawing back and forth around the zero line right now. We'll see. if this breaks or not. I'm looking for it to hold. I expect it's going to hold until it breaks. And if price is able to resume upwards, I'm going to be playing that long. This also, so let me talk myself through this one because it's a little bit of an enigma right now. It's iffy. It's a little hard to trade. I know that the euro is acting a little bit strong in this moment versus the US dollar. There's strength in the euro. The Japanese yen and the US dollar Japanese yen, this looks weaker than this, right? So a break below the wedge to the downside, that looks like the US dollar Japanese yen is the play. But to the upside here, doesn't the euro look stronger versus the yen than the US dollar does? Wouldn't this be a smarter play here? I see that this support which broke in, and then right here, we're at support right now. You could see, I could draw it above. If that support holds and we start resuming this trend upwards, that looks like a good entry. The only thing that throws me off is it's against the trend. It's against the trend is still showing down here. This is why it's not black and white and discretionary. You also have this inverse head and shoulders pattern developing though, right? You can see there's a shoulder, then the head, and then now the right shoulder is developing. If you were to play a head and shoulders inverse right here. So I have to say that I do like this to the upside, and it is something I would nibble at. I will look to nibble at if we get price resuming to the upside here on the euro Japanese yen. Obviously, that's not happening on this price bar, but this could happen later today, and this could happen as well as during Asia or London. But I just want to let you know right now, this is a pair I'm interested in watching, and I might go ahead and take this trade. Kelvin, I just walked us through the euro Japanese yen pretty well and in detail. I don't know if you asked the question before I was talking because it's on a different screen, as well as I think there's like a 30-second delay between when I'm speaking and when it comes through the live stream. So let me know whether or not only that clears it up, or if anyone else has any other input on this trade, because like I said, I was talking it out myself with you, how I seeing it develop and what's going on. All right, so Raj is asking me for this trade here on the euro Japanese yen. If I would go down to a lower time frame, I'm going to pause real quick on the Australian dollar Japanese yen. This is more of a quick trade. This is a quick trade for me because if I get into this trade short, I want to be out of it later today. So this is a low. Not time preference, but a low time horizon trade. And would I be looking any lower for it? No. It's the same thing on the 4 hour. I'm going to show you why. The 1 hour and the 8 hour. The reason I'm playing this trade is because of this support, right? I'm playing this trade for the first reason is that the Japanese yen is strongest this morning versus the Australian dollar. The Australian dollar is the weakest pair. Yen is the strongest. I'm playing that momentum play. I'm playing that momentum play with the true trend down and entry criteria rolling over and price looking to break this support, right? So that's a quick momentum play, but it's still this support line, and it's the same support whether I'm looking at the 8 hour or the 4 hour or the 1 hour. It's still the same support line, right? On all the time frames. So that doesn't really matter. I'm still basing this off the 8 hour. Now, specifically, you talking about the euro Japanese yen, and it is a counter trade trend as far as we define the trend by the direction of the true trend. That's true. and it's at an inflection point, meaning it's trading at this support level right here. So if you were taking our go-to setup of a downtrend and then price pull back against it when the trend resumes, your profit is limited. Your profit potential is limited because you have to take profit down here off of this support line and this trend line support. To the upside, there's more room. If we get long this pair somehow, if price takes us in, our sell zone is not to up here, right? I'm gonna have a tighter stop. My stop would be, if price resumed upwards, it would be right here at the nearest swing low, right? Just down here. It's a really tight stop, but look at that profit potential. So would I trade that off a lower time frame? For me, the 8 hour is the time frame to trade it off of. I want to look down at the lower time frames just to see if I or you see anything different. But I see the same. Oh, would I enter this maybe on the 4 hour? No. If the 4 hour made a higher high here, I wouldn't enter it. If this was during the London session, I would, because we have a lot more volume during London and early New York. But we are about to enter into the later stages of the New York session. And then the downtime before the Asian Open, and then the Asian session, we have lots of low movement coming up, a lot of possibility for false signals. I would definitely be looking on the higher time frames to give me a more firm signal. Raj, if this was during the London time frame and the exact setup was occurring, and then price made a higher high here, yes, you'd be smarter to be looking at the lower time frame. But because of the time of day that we're in right now, the higher time frame gives us a greater advantage of filtering out noise. So and it's also a really, really good question. I was glad to get into that. It's important information for everyone. That's a good one. That's one of the ones I wish we could just, bookmark and archive to reference. That was a good one. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cancel the trade trigger. It didn't trigger. I had my, hold on. I had my entry at 73.88 using FX choice, and that trade did not trigger. So I'm canceling it because the momentum never just went with it. We all know that I was looking for a momentum play and it didn't trigger. I don't want to be looking for that trade anymore. I'm going to cancel it. And now that as soon as I canceled it, you can watch in the next 10 minutes, you will see price dump. But that's okay. Trade smarter. I do want to see what's happening on the other open order I have, which is the Euro US dollar. I just talked you through this. I'm still keeping my sell entry in, and I will keep adjusting this to the low of the previous price bar as we trade up towards this resistance until we get an entry, or if I get an entry. Okay, so we're using here, we're using the if you're using the true trend on MetaTrader 4, click on properties, go into expert advisor properties, click on inputs. For the trend CCI, you're using 70. For the entry CCI, the blue line, you're using 3. Okay, so we're using the 370. The entry CCI is the 3. The trend CCI is 70 period. Okay, so the question is whether or not it needs to be green. Technically, no. You're just looking to see if the reading is positive or negative. I have it set it here that the first price bar that crosses is always the opposite color. And that's just kind of a warning sign that sometimes we do get those flip-flops on the true trend around the zero line, as is occurring on the US dollar, Japanese yen. Let me pull that up. You could see here, this is just warning that we're getting that trend change. And again, we tend to take, right? We tend to take, unless it's a technical play off of support or resistance, which right here on this, on the US dollar, Japanese yen, for me, I'm looking to get long if price shows that it's resuming upwards off of this rising wedge, off of this lower trend line support. I'm not really focused in on the CCI here, on the trend CCI on that one. And we're normally taking the first pullback, generally speaking. So you don't have to be concerned with the color anyway, but you're looking at the reading, whether it's above or below zero, not the color. Let's see if gold is holding or rolling over. And it's just holding out. All right, so the last thing you want to do is just take a trade to trade. You don't want to take a trade to be in the market. There's a really good chance that by doing that, you're going to be taking a loss and losing money. The only point of doing this is to make money. To do that, you got to trade smart. You got to wait. You got to watch the markets. We are looking at several pairs all the time. We're waiting for things to develop. We're watching as they do, and we're looking for those entries. If you took 1 or 2 trades a week and they were good ones, you're going to make money. If you take 20 trades a week, you're going to lose money. Yep. Euro yen is more, that is true and good. And thank you for realigning my focus. The US dollar, Japanese yen, I'm just looking at, right? If this breaks out of this rising wedge to the downside, it looks like because it's weaker, it's showing more weakness to the US dollar compared to the euro, this pair will lead the way to the downside, right? But what's going on the upside? Jeff just pointed out the euro, Japanese yen looks like it's stronger. So, and thank you, Jeff. This looks like the pair to play to the upside over the US dollar, Japanese yen. And if we get a resumption here, if price takes us into this trade, this does look like the healthier pair to trade. And you have to like the upside, the potential to the upside. And we don't know what's going to happen. But this is definitely a setup to watch. Where would I get in on this pair? Very simple. If I am buying, I am looking to buy the euro, Japanese yen, We just looked at that. My entry is off of support, right? You could see the top of this blue box is the support we're looking at. You see it from over here all the way through. Let me go with you. It started over here, resistance broken. It didn't even get close to testing it. So it's kind of like right there. If price makes a higher high than the previous price bar, this is my entry off support. My stop will be very tight. It'll be the low of whatever this move is. If this price bar, the current price bar is the lowest low, if price makes it a high in the previous price bar and this is the lowest, my stop will be right down here. It'll be around 120, 10, 120, 11, right around there. And because the reason my stop will be so tight, because if price makes a higher high and then rolls over and breaks down through this support, it's coming down to here for sure. It's not only is that a good trade to exit, that's a good trade to exit and then reverse and take the short, because this is trading with the trend, trading with criteria at that point, because the entry CCI will be pulled back above. So this is like a flip-flop trade, right? You have the opportunity to take the long. If it's proven false and you hit the stop, we're coming down to here. And basically that profit will be covering the loss on this potential long that happens over here. No, sorry, Jeff. I trade off of the wick, not the body. I do not expect that this price bar is going to take out the high over here, right? That's where the entry would be, all the way up here. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is that this current price bar, when it closes, the entry is then going to be moved down to wherever the high is, whether that's somewhere over here or over here, and that will be the entry. I don't think that price during this current 8-hour price bar is going to come up here and take out that high. There's a very low probability that's going to happen. What's going to happen is that whatever the high of this current price bar is, when this closes, that's going to become the entry for this trade. Okay. Waiting here on the pound. We got out of this trade here. Well, again, what's probably going to happen, I have a feeling we're going to see some appreciation in the Australian dollar overnight and into tomorrow. I want to have a trend line drawn in here because this is going to come into play later. Once we get above the top of this blue box, I'll begin looking for an entry that will coincide for sure with a trend change here on the true trend. Until that happens, we are looking for shorts. I'm going to be staying out of this pair now through this news event that's happening later today. I went ahead and canceled my order. And also here on the Australian dollar, US dollar, we made tomorrow if we do get some appreciation on the Australian dollar, we may get a chance to have a play off of this resistance tomorrow. Just kind of planning out the trades for tomorrow. You would see the true trend very near the zero line, and then if it was rejected, that would take us short. I'm not looking for longs on the Australian dollar, US dollar until this trend line resistance is broken. At that point, if it's broken, we're also going to be playing with a positive true trend. We'll have plenty of room to look for longs, just waiting that out. All right, that's it for this session. I do appreciate all of you being here with me. Love going through. We got this. This is nice. Let me pull this up. Yeah, I appreciate this is the place where you guys get the opportunity to cast your vote and share what you think. What I'm doing here is I'm sharing with you how I trade, how I approach the markets, what I do. I'm sharing with you exactly what I need to do every day for myself. And whether or not you choose to join us and to sharing this with you, that's entirely up to you. I'm doing this anyway. I believe it provides an enormous value. I know it does, so I'm going to continue doing it regardless. I have thick skin; doesn't really bother me. But that's it. What else could I say? I know what I'm believing offers value, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And to be honest, it helps me a lot. It helps me a lot when you have to articulate something to others. It's the best form of laying out the plan that I need to be following myself. And it really holds me accountable to myself by being accountable to you. It is a net plus for me and my P&L. And that's why I'm doing it and will continue to do it. And that's all. And to be honest, it's only been a couple of weeks, but that's how friendships develop and get started and communities form. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy your day, and thanks for sharing that time with me. I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.